Hi everyone. So, first video here from me. My name is Lisa. In case you don't know me yet, I'm originally from Denmark, now living in Berlin, beautiful city of Berlin. And I just realized something today, and I'm not gonna go into the whole context of the path that led me here or all of that, because that doesn't matter, at least not in this moment right here. It doesn't matter. I was watching clips on YouTube and whatever, procrastinating as always, and I stumbled upon a documentary, and during this documentary I had a real huge epiphany that I wanted to share with you. And just as a preface, I'm not saying that I'm perfect and that I am free of all of my demons. That is not the case. I'm very happy to admit that I'm not perfect, and I'm not putting myself up on a pedestal or anything. I just want to share my aha moments, as Oprah calls them, my hero Oprah, with as many people as possible. And this is a major one for me today. It just came to me that dealing with mental health issues, which seems to be the case for a lot of people today, I don't think that's new. Luckily, the taboo and the stigma of talking about mental health and mental illness has been drastically reduced within the past 10-15 years, I would say. Luckily. There's much more that can be done, obviously, but just talking about it really, really, really helps. And I was thinking about this whole, what do you do with the diagnostics of it all? What is the thing? Does a diagnosis help? Does a diagnosis hurt? People tend to go in either direction, and I was thinking about that. And I realized that there should be one, in my opinion, there should be one diagnosis that should be made much more frequently than it is now, because it's not a diagnosis. To me, there is one illness. This was my epiphany today. There is one particularly mental health disease plaguing us, and that is, hold on tight, it is repressing our emotions. Because, and obviously I get the impulse, because it is much easier to repress your emotions, and I'm going to keep saying repress because English is not my native tongue, so just bear with me. All evidence to the contrary, but yeah, not all evidence. That one slip up at least so will occur several times throughout this video, I'm sure. It is very tempting to just not, and I think this is the case for a lot of us, that we don't even recognize or acknowledge the emotion as it's saying, hi, I'm here. I think we've practiced that. We've gotten so good at that, at just go, oh, no, I don't want you to appear, that we just repress it even before it even rears its ugly beautiful head at the same time. And I think that that we don't, it doesn't even register. It's not even a blip on our radar at this point, particularly as adults, because it's much easier to just not acknowledge the emotion when it's there and just go straight into reaction mode or whatever. And to me, not acknowledging, implicitly repressing our emotions leads to a lot of diseases that are being diagnosed, such as drug addiction. I count alcoholism as a drug, so for me, alcoholism is also a drug addiction, but never mind. All almost kinds of addictions, I would say, would make sense. Violence, at the very worst, killing somebody, or raping somebody, beating somebody up, any type of violence, basically, external and internal, of course, and any number of eating disorders, and yeah, a lot of psychosomatic pain. Yeah, all of these diseases that are just eating us up alive. Yeah, a lot of diagnoses being made without linking them to our lack of willingness to acknowledge and talk about our emotions. Because it's obvious, if you've had a shitty day, or you had a lot of issues that were caused by your upbringing or whatnot, that it's easier to become neurotic and focus on cleaning everything all the time and developing OCD or whatever, because it's easier to control something external such as germs than it is to look yourself in the eye and say, who am I? And oh wow, I felt really, really hurt by you saying that. What did that just do to me? And just acknowledge that emotion being there, you feeling hurt or pain or fear or any type of emotion. Of course, it's easier to focus on something external or to bully somebody else to make yourself feel better, which never works, by the way, but a lot of people do that, you know. And instead of just saying, oh, you know, I'm really fearful of that, or afraid of doing that, because that shows vulnerability. But to me, vulnerability is where the magic happens, because that's where you're really open to everything. You're open to other people, you're open to yourself, you're open to whatever your path in life is. And I don't want to take it to like a drifty kind of level, because that's too stupid for this one video. But once you've started the communication about it, it gets much easier. And other people that I've talked to about this, who haven't yet reached the stage where they were ready, willing, and able to talk about their emotions or acknowledge them or all of that, they seem to be under the illusion that by repressing your emotions, you have them under control. Whereas I see it the other way around, because human emotion is the only thing that unites us as a species, in my view, because we all have that. Even Hitler had emotions, and if Hitler would have dealt with his emotions better, we probably wouldn't be here today. In this, referencing Berlin and yeah, Germans and all of that. Yeah, just a slight askew reference there, but I just, it is something that we all have in common, except for well, other than flatulence, obviously, because everybody farts, but that's another video. but that is something, what we get down to it, and we're on our deathbeds. People have regrets, but they have regrets that are linked to their emotions, and it's never, oh, I wish I would have worked more. I wish I would have made more money. I wish I would have had more cars. I wish I would have gotten that promotion at 52 or whatever. It's always the same regrets, and it's always not having built those social relationships, not having connected to more people, not having spent more time with their loved ones. It's always linked to these basic needs and emotions that unite us all. And obviously I'm referencing Mark Rosenberg here. Sorry, Marshall Rosenberg. That's a big one, sorry. Yeah, names are not my forte, that's okay. Of the founder of nonviolent communication, which is a revolution on its own. But that is something that unites us all. And the thing with the if I choose to shut down my emotions, I control them illusion. It is not the case. It's just not the case. There are so many people who get a midlife crisis or fall sick and ill on their faces and asses mid-50s because their minds explode. There's a trigger usually, and then people's emotions, which they've repressed for the majority of their lives, they just erupt. It's like a volcano. I really do describe it as a volcano because it is. Every ounce of magma is our emotions, and to me it's so dangerous to keep that to go, hey, no, magma, I don't want you to come up to the surface just yet. I'm just going to put you back. To me, it's obvious that at some point this volcano of emotion is going to erupt, and there's no, and thus the emotions control us, because they are going to surface at some point. Or as we see in a lot of men today, particularly young men, particularly young American men, but that's again another video. The only emotion they are allowed to show is anger, and thus a lot of violence and just completely useless violence that helps nobody is an epidemic in a lot of places. Or people drink a lot of alcohol when they're teens and they have every emotion in the book, and and they don't know how to cope because nobody's ever taught them how to cope with their emotions. And I think it's so telling that that by repressing this emotion, this one allowed emotion or strategy, as Rosenberg would say, or yeah, or act will just manifest itself, and that will become the anger, and it will become the violence, instead of nipping it in the bud and saying, okay, let me just dial down here. Okay, why am I so angry right now? Why am I okay? So I'm angry because I'm frustrated, or I'm feeling angry and I feel like punching a wall or punching somebody or whatever. And then just to trace it back to what actually triggered that. And it's always, always, always the emotion. It's the emotion. And if we would get better at acknowledging the original emotion in the first place, I believe that there would be a lot more happiness and peace in the world. This coming from a hippie, not stereotypical hippie, but yeah. But I think we would see a drastic increase in people's well-being and a massive reduction in mental health illnesses and diagnoses. If we would, if when abused, if that's the case, and abuse is the underlying reason for the emotions that we're going through, instead of carrying out this cycle of abuse, which a lot of people tend to do, I know my fair share anyways. I can't say anything statistically. I'm not here for that. Instead of repeating that cycle of abuse, if you would just say, okay, so what happened to me then was I was really hurt by that, and my soul felt crushed or destroyed, or I felt little or belittled, or pain, emotional pain, and I felt hurt. You would rather cry than you would act out. And crying, people, has never hurt anybody. I'm just saying. Maybe it's hurt your eyes if you cry nonstop for 3 days. Then it's hurt somebody. But crying, to me at least, is very, very, very cathartic. It's a relief because as it's explained at one point, I think you cry because your body cannot hold the pain inside it anymore. And to me, that's a very, very accurate description of it, because it's not linked to any physical pain. It's just, oh, okay. And then then the tears start rolling, But to me, crying is not a sign of weakness in anybody. It's a sign of strength. So I was rambling and rambling and rambling. But I wanted to put this out there. And I think if we would have one diagnosis that would call emotional repression or repressing emotions or whatever, I said it right. Yes. I think we would come a very, very, very long way in this world, in our lives as individuals, but also with each other. And to just say, that's how I feel right now, instead of just, and how many marriages could be saved? How many relationships could be saved by your partner saying to you, you know what? When I told you or asked you to do that yesterday and you didn't, I feel like I'm unappreciated, and I was really hurt by that. And I would wish that you would pay me more respect, or could empathize more with what I'm going through, or whatever. If we were willing to, in every relationship that we have, doesn't have to be a romantic involvement, can be friends, can be family. If we were able to say that, and for us to be met where we're at emotionally, I think we would save so many marriages. How many of us just skip that whole part and just start with lashing out, going, you never help me out in the house, and you never pay attention to the kids, or we just blow up and we just go nah nah nah. And how are we supposed to evolve from that? Or when that's the starting point, where do we go from that? Do we go somewhere productive, or do we go somewhere non-productive? And I would vote for the latter. But yeah, just I wish we could all just be more open and honest with each other, particularly when it comes to our emotions, because it's something we all have. It's something we all have. It's these basic needs and basic emotions. And I would wish that we would dare to be more vulnerable. And I know it's tough this day and age. Man, I know it's tough. It really fucking is. I'm not saying that it's easy, but it's one step in the right direction of diffusing that volcanic eruption that lies ahead. Because it does. Usually it does. Yeah. Okay. People, that's all from me. I'm signing off and wishing you a blessed time within yourselves and with others. Much, much love. Bye.